Hello! I am Aoyalaipe, and I like to hop into top tier matches in War Thunder and then personally kill the entire enemy team by myself. Welcome to my channel. So, about a week ago, I was abruptly flooded with messages telling me that Gaijin had finally hotfixed the super down tier trick. It's gone, dead, just like this fish. Now, I've been pretty busy with work recently, so I figured, I do need to make a video about this, but what can I quickly do to demonstrate that super down tiering is alive and well? And I was like, I'll just go record a quick video of me downranking my F4 ice, hopping into some random public lobby, and then killing literally every single last enemy player by myself. Like, to the point where my own teammates eventually start complaining that I'm not leaving any targets for them. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the F4 ice and my history with it, the last time I made a video on this jet, I wiped out an entire lobby with a 41-0 kill streak, which broke a world record and got me featured on Thunder Show. So it's a great option if I ever need to cobble together a ridiculous bloodbath on short notice. Also, full disclosure, this game here is not quite a super down tier, it's actually one step up from that. The super down tiers I did find tended to just die too quickly to be entertaining background footage. Okay, so what is super down tiering, how do I do it, and what did the hotfix change about it? Well, most people think the highest possible down tier you can get is 1 VR lower than your jet, but it's actually 1.3. Your 14.0 jet can face a 12.7 lineup, and that 1.3 down tier is called a super down tier. Now, if you've never heard of super down tiering, that's probably because it's only possible in arcade and you don't play arcade and you don't follow arcade. And if that's the case, then you're probably even more surprised to learn that there is a top tier arcade channel with over 40,000 subscribers. While you can super down tier at essentially any rank in arcade, except if you're below 2.3 because you can't go below 1.0, it's most often used by TTA, top tier arcade players, because top tier jets are so sensitive to battle rating changes. So the last time I explained super down tiering, for example, I took a 13.7 F-15J Kai into some random public lobby and used it to slaughter a bunch of 12.3 players with spam rams. I ended the match 25-0. The other team thought it was complete BS that I killed them all while cackling maniacally, but I thought it was complete BS that I deleted their entire team single-handedly and somehow only got second place. And when I say cackling maniacally, I mean that's the video where this soundbite originally came from. Apparently they thought I was the bad guy for some reason, I don't know why. Okay, time for a quick tangent though. I'll get back to super down tiering in a second, but right here in the background footage is a really good example of how to use positioning on a high level. I screwed up and let this tornado get behind me. I know he doesn't have any missiles left at this point, because he would have already launched them at me if he did. The tornado is one of the few jets that is more of a boat than the F4 Phantom, so I can outturn him. But the tornado is one of the few jets that is faster than an F4 Phantom, so he can outrun me. So you would think that I would be going for a turn fight instead of a chase fight, but that's wrong. If I take a turn fight in an area that's this high threat, I'll almost certainly get third-partied, both of us will. Instead, the main advantage I have is that even though the tornado's a little faster than me, I still have enough of a head start that he can't close to gun range before I can get him to fly in front of a swarm of friendly teammates, my teammates. And they murder him in the same way a flock of seagulls will murder a french fry. I mean, why get both of us third-partied when I can get just him third-partied, problem solved. And unfortunately, it looks like his missiles came off reload right as he died. That was unfortunate timing for him, yeah. Alright, let's get back to super down tiering, which is the reason y'all clicked on this video. So what happened in the hotfix was that when Gaijin tried to tweak things and change how battle ratings for lineups were calculated in arcade, they actually made two changes, and those changes basically just canceled each other out. Like Gaijin said they were going to make this simpler, but they kind of did the opposite, and they made it even more convoluted than it already was. There was only one substantive change, and that change is that things now round up instead of round down. So if you have, say, a 14.0 and a 13.7 in your lineup, and you just have a two-plane lineup, your BR now rounds up to 14.0 instead of down to 13.7. Which basically just nerfed Sweden. They had a really nasty 13.7 lineup, but now it's a below average 14.0 lineup. It also kind of nerfed the F4 Ice because you could pair the F4 Ice with the MiG-29G, and that was like the nastiest two-plane lineup in the game for its battle rating. Also, the hotfix added this annoying chat bug because sometimes the bug fixes have bugs, in addition to not fixing the bugs they're trying to fix. Welcome to TTAA, this is how bug fixes typically work. Okay, but like, how exactly does down tiering, super down tiering work? Well, in arcade, your BR is the average of your top three planes, or I mean, it's basically the average. There's a lot of asterisks there. Anyways, of all of the countless quirks that are somehow inherent in trying to average three numbers together, there were two quirks that are relevant to the story. The first quirk is that Gaijin would impose a completely nonsensical penalty if one of your top three planes had a BR that was way lower than the others. So, for example, if your lineup consisted of one F-15E Strike Eagle and one reserve biplane, then your reserve biplane would count as a second F-15 F-15E Strike Eagle when calculating your lineup's battle rating. That would make your lineup's battle rating go up. But if you added a few F-16s, the reserve biplane wouldn't be counted at all because it wasn't one of your top 3 jets. But the F-16s would be counted as F-16s, and that would make your battle rating go down. So there were situations where adding top tier jets would decrease your battle rating, but adding props would increase it. Now if you're thinking, hey, that makes no sense and sounds completely asinine, you're right, it was completely asinine. All it did was confuse the hell out of new players who bought premiums. Because if you only have one premium, your lineup either consists of that one premium or that one premium plus some rando prop planes. So like if you had a premium in arcade, this issue would affect you one way or the other. If you actually grind out the whole tech tree, it's possible that it wouldn't. The second quirk is that if you only had one plane, that would always round down. So if you brought a lineup that consisted of only one plane, and that one plane was say a 14.0 jet, your lineup would be 13.7 and it could be down tiered to face 12.7 players. So the simplest, most hassle-free way to super down tier was to just have a one plane lineup. If you just roll into an arcade match with one jet like you're playing realistic, then your jet is down ranked, no hassle. Now, the hotfix basically talks about fixing the second quirk where your one plane lineup would always go down in battle rating, but the far more important change is that it actually changed the first quirk, it fixed it. So now today, if you have a biplane in your lineup, it won't jack up the battle rating of, say, your F4S Phantom by counting as an additional F4S Phantom. Apparently, Gaijin no longer believes that this biplane is all set to dogfight MiGs over some rail yard in Hanoi with the might of not one, but two 30 caliber machine guns. This was a good change, and that will no longer confuse new players who bought premiums and hopped into arcade thinking it was the simple, easy to understand game mode, which to be fair it is, until you hit rank 6. After rank 6, arcade becomes sheer madness. And speaking of madness, I ran into a few squadron players while filming my F4 Ice a few days ago. One from Itro recognized my paint job and said, "OMG, it's you." I said, "New phone, who dis?" He said, "No, it's definitely you." I said, "Yeah, okay, it is me." He asked for Mercy. I explained that Mercy has inherent logistical difficulties he may not have considered, and then I killed literally his entire team 18-1. Yeah, I got a bit sloppy and died once. Meanwhile, there was some random angry guy in chat because this is War Thunder and sometimes they're just random angry people. Anyways, we're getting off track. So as I said, the hotfix made it so that low tier props won't increase your battle rating anymore. However, the hotfix also made it so that one plane lineups don't round down. In other words, they changed quirk number 2. Now, if you have a lineup that consists of one plane and that plane is 14.0, your lineup is 14.0. As of last week, it would have been 13.7, but now it's 14.0. And that means that Gaijin went in a giant circle and did exactly nothing here. Because, you see, if you put a 14.0 and a low tier prop plane in your lineup, it's now a 2-plane lineup that rounds down to 13.7. So it basically just works in reverse of how it worked last week. Having a prop plane used to not let you downrank, but now having a prop plane as one of your top 3 jets does. And if you only have 2 jets, a 14.0 and some random prop plane, then the prop plane is by definition one of your top 3 jets. Now, if you leave the match early without spawning in your low tier prop plane, it will get a nasty crew lock timer. Unless it's a reserve plane, because reserve planes can't get crew lock. I swear, like 8 people figured this out and messaged me almost immediately after the hotfix, because this is top tier arcade, and if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So if you take your one plane lineup and did exactly what you were already doing, except you also throw a reserve plane in your lineup and then totally ignore the reserve plane, then this change does not affect your one plane shenanigans in any way. I've been told that there have been quite a few complaints about one plane lineups, and that's trickled back to me because it was probably kind of my fault this is happening. If you watch my channel, you know that my thing is I like to kill entire enemy teams by myself without dying. So I would always just run around the one plane lineup because it was a simple way to downrank, and I mean, I only needed the one plane, so I'll just do the simple thing and only bring the one plane. Most players, however, need more than one plane. And because my channel has an absurdly large audience relative to the size of top tier arcade, this seems to have inspired a lot of other players to try just one plane in the entire enemy team like I do in my videos, and most of them kind of suck at it. So they die very quickly and leave without spawning any more planes. That was annoying because it would leave a hole in your team, and people complained, and it looks like Gaijin made an honest attempt to fix this. The fix did not work. So, for all practical intents and purposes, the only thing that all these tweaks and changes accomplished was to confuse the exact opposite group of premium players. Remember, premium players tend to only have one top tier premium, so their lineup either is just the premium or it's a premium and some prop planes. Like, unless they buy more top tier premiums and with similar battle ratings to the one they already have, those are really the only two possibilities for how they could set up their lineups. As of a week ago, top tier premium players with prop planes got their battle rating jacked up, but now it's getting rounded down. Meanwhile, the top tier premium players who avoided putting prop planes in their lineups because that's what you're supposed to do, and they were getting their BRs rounded down as of a week ago, but now they're getting it jacked up. So for all practical intents and purposes, all guys did was switch this stuff around on people who actually spend money in their game, which doesn't really seem like a sensible thing for me, either from a gameplay or business perspective. And not only would this be confusing, but this change is so buried that it's not even in the patch notes for the hotfix. And even if they found and read the suggested further details, it's not really in those details either. At least I didn't see them when I leafed through it. Maybe I missed it. As far as I can tell, it's really more of an unintended logical consequence of the extra details in the footnote to the patch notes, etc. So it's gonna take a while for new players to realize this got changed. It's not exactly obvious. Experienced top tier players, the ones who have a whole tech tree grind out and know what they're doing, they will have the tools to lawyer their lion's battle rate no matter how you cut it, but new players who bought premiums don't. So like how this stuff affects new players is what actually matters here. And I see two sensible ways to do this. The first and simplest is to go back to having one plane lineups round down. So if you put an 11.7 F4S in a lineup and nothing else, that rounds down to 11.3. But if you have an 11.7 F4S and also some prop planes in your lineup, that would also round down to 11.3. Doing that would idiot-proof the arcade battle rating calculations. The second sensible way I see do this is, why not just let premiums spawn in 3 times? Like, you know how the Sakin works in the Israeli tech tree? Yeah, just like let premiums do the same thing. I know there are people running around with single tech tree jets trying to, copy the style I use in my videos, but at the end of the day, most one-plane lineups you see in arcade are premium players, and the reason they're only using one plane is because they only have that one plane. If you give their jets the same spawn rules as the Sakin does in arcade, you would fix that problem. If you want to get rid of one-plane lineups, there's your low-hanging fruit. Anyways, I only got 19 enemy players this match, which was pretty disappointing. Again, I've been crazy busy, so I only had like an hour to get the footage in the first place, and then I had to wait until Sunday to find time to edit it. So this video is kind of cobbled together. Still, I understand that for some players, going 19-0 is a lot. It's a big game for them. And when I expressed my disappointment that there were no more targets, my own teammates kind of blamed me for killing all the targets in the first place. And I guess that is one way to look at it. And not a single player on the enemy team had a positive KD this match, which might be both the cause and effect of all the spike crashing my teammates were also complaining about. Anyways, super downtiering is alive and well, although that poor enemy team over there most definitely is not. Yeah, all those guys died, they're dead. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment to feed the algorithm, and remember, if you subscribe and ring the bell, you won't need to remember how to spell AIPay next time you want to watch one of my videos.